Today we're going to begin making our coil pot. So the very first thing I want everyone to do is to create a name tag for themselves. That way we can easily identify whose pot is whose at the start of each class. So you're going to grab a piece of white paper and you're going to grab a pencil from the basket and go ahead and just write your name. You can do your first name and your last initial. And then also please just write your class code. So 4 for fourth grade, and then whatever the first letter of your teacher's last name is. Once you have this, put that off to the side somewhere so that you can use it at the end of class, and put your pencil back into the basket. Go ahead and do that now, please. All right, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to now write your name on what's going to be the bottom of your coil pot. I know we're writing it twice, but this just makes things extra certain that we know whose is whose. So you're going to use your skewer and you want to use the pointed side, and you're going to gently carve your name into the circular base. When I say gently, I mean don't cut all the way through. You don't want a hole in the bottom of your pot. So I'm just going to use my skewer to kind of push down so that it goes in just gently. And you need to neatly write your name. If I can't read it, you're not going to get it back. You also need to write your class code. So I'm going to put 4 for fourth grade and then whatever your teacher's initial or last name is. Okay. Once you do that, then you're going to go ahead and flip it over. So go ahead and do that now, please, if you've not already done so. Now you are going to put everything down. Don't touch anything. I want you guys just to listen and watch for right now. As soon as I'm finished here, then you'll be able to begin your coil pot. But for right now, I should see all skewers should be down and all eyes should be up on the board. All right, now we are going to start with the coil part. Remember that a coil is basically like a long, skinny, kind of snake-like piece of clay, or like a rope piece of clay. It's very important that you make good coils. So you're gonna each have a piece of our chunk of clay. If you need more than this today, that's fine. I can always get you more. And if you end up having extra, I'll take that back for next week. So you're gonna start by basically making a coil. This is too big. So you need to start by kind of pinching and twisting and dividing your clay, I would say at least in half, okay? Some kids might make it smaller, but I wouldn't make more than 4 pieces. That's too many, but I'm just gonna start with 2. You want to start by squeezing this in your hand first to kind of get it into that pickle shape. Okay, so as best as you can in your hand. And then once you have a good pickle shape in your hand, then you can start the rolling process on your table. I forgot to mention that you do want to keep your coils pot, the base should always be on your mat. If you build it on your table, sometimes it gets stuck. And if it gets stuck, then we have to rip it to kind of get it off your table. So always leave this on your mat, but this you can roll directly on the table. When you guys are rolling today, look at your thumb. I would say that your coil should not be any skinnier than your thumb. If it gets too skinny, they tend to break really easy and they don't make very sturdy coil pot walls. So I would try and stay about as thick as your thumb. When you're rolling, you are not smushing as hard as you can, but you're also not barely touching it. You've got to put some pressure to make it turn into a nice long coil. I'm going to use my entire hand. So I'm not just rolling in the middle over and over again. That just flattens it down. I want to roll from the very tip of my finger all the way down to the bottom of my hand, and it should be a nice, smooth, controlled motion. So I roll all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top. And as I do that, I am pushing as I'm working here. All right, now I'm coming across a problem. Listen. My coil is kind of getting flattened. If your coil starts to get flat, simply pick it back up and kind of pinch it back into more of like a cube or kind of roundish shape, and then keep rolling, okay? As you can tell, my coil is growing, so I'm kind of moving my hands together as I'm working because I want to keep it even. So again, it should not be super skinny or super fat in one place. It should be even. So it's kind of thin over here. It's about the size of my thumb, so I'm going to roll a little bit more over here, okay? And that's looking pretty good. So again, I don't want to go any skinnier than my thumbs. That's pretty good. If it starts getting way too long and you can't control it anymore, you can always tear it in half and then roll the different pieces, okay? So now I'm ready to attach this onto the base of my pot. To do that, I need to use a very important method, which is to score, which means basically to scratch. And then I need to also add slip. Slip is kind of like your clay glue. It looks like a chocolate milkshake, but it won't taste like one. So I'm gonna score first. So I'm gonna scratch up both the coil and where it's going to go. And I'm going to do that quickly. It should not take you more than 15 seconds. So I'm just gonna kind of do a couple little scratches, kind of just roughing up the surface where it's gonna go. Okay, that's it. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the coil, kind of on one side where it's gonna be touching the base, okay? So that's it, didn't take very long. Now, I am going to kind of measure first, so I'm gonna measure and see about how much I need. This should be directly on top of your pot, not hanging over the edge, not sitting way inside. It should be completely on the edge. And I'm gonna measure so it's kind of about the right size, and then any extra I have, I'm just gonna tear it off right there. All right, so I'm gonna attach or apply my slip now. This is a clay glue. This is gonna help keep these two pieces together. So I'm gonna not get a huge blob, but I do want a decent amount. I'm just gonna kind of brush it around the base of the pot. You don't need to put it on both, just put it on one or the other. I'm now gonna put scratches to scratches. So I'm gonna put the scratches down and give it a nice gentle kind of push and push that down. And I still have a little bit extra, so I'm just gonna kind of slide it off. And now I'm just gonna blend this end into the other one so that it kind of looks like it's just one solid ring of clay. Okay. So now I have my first coil added on. It fits pretty perfectly right on top. There might be a little bit of slip hanging out, and that's totally fine. Don't worry about that right now. I'm now going to add a second layer. I want everybody today to just be trying to build your pot straight up. There's no need to start coming out or go back in. Just try and go straight up today. Make it as tall as you can today. This coil is almost, well, it's pretty close. I'm going to roll it a tiny bit more to kind of get it a little bit thinner. But sometimes you might have a coil that's already ready to go. If you don't, then re-roll a new coil with the extra clay that you have, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. This time I'm going to scratch the bottom of my coil, and now scratch the top of this one because that is now what you're gonna be attaching the next coil to. Again, don't forget to use your slip, so I'm gonna get a little bit of slip. Just brush it on one piece, I don't need to put them on both. The glue that kind of holds them together. And then I'll simply attach it. And again, I want to keep it so that it's going straight on top. So it shouldn't be hanging inside. It shouldn't be going way over. It should be sitting directly on top of the coil underneath it. So kind of wrap that around. I do have some extra, so I'll kind of just pinch it off. And then I will simply smooth it together, kind of where those two pieces join. The nice thing about this is that if something kind of looks a little bit wonky, you can kind of just pinch it and kind of make sure that it's the shape that you want, okay? So now I have two coils, and my name is still visible on the bottom. You're basically gonna repeat that today until you can build your pot nice and tall. If you end up having a piece of clay like this that's just way too tiny to make anything with, just smush it back into your next piece of clay, and then to start the same process over, rolling your coils and kind of building it up, okay? All right, so whether you're finished for the day or whether it's time to go, which is probably the more certain one, and when it's time to go today, you have a couple things to do to clean up. Number one, this little name tag you made needs to be sitting inside your pot. That just makes it a lot easier for me to see next week so we can pass them out really quick. If you happen to have any extra clay today, please don't take any with you. We can use this again next week. So what you're gonna do first is you're gonna carry your pot over to a tray that is sitting on the slab roller. First, you need to know the name of the artist you're sitting at. I'm at the Louise Nevelson table. So I'm gonna bring my pot as I stand up and I walk over here and I'm gonna look for the last name of my artist. So here's the Nevelson tray. So I'm gonna put mine on here. Don't put it smack in the middle because then nobody else can fit it on there. Put yours kind of close to the corner and just line them up down the tray so we can fit everybody's from your tables. Once that's there, you leave it. And then you're gonna go back and kind of start to clean up your table. So if you have extra clay on your table, grab that. And then you're gonna walk any extra clay you have over to the front cart, find the orange basket where it says extra clay, and you're simply going to drop it into the bag. Don't play with it, just drop it in, walk away. Go back to your seat. There are going to be probably slit brushes that need to get put back into the cup. If there's any extra pencils out, just leave those in the basket. You guys can do me a favor and stack all the mats together at your table, and then just gather all the skewers together at your table as well. As you can see, there's clay on my table. Once you've kind of gotten everybody's extra clay and the pots put away, then I'm going to bring out some washcloths, and you guys can clean up both your dirty hands and your tables. And once everything is kind of put away, then I will ask for collectors to start bringing me the things on the table. Please don't bring it to me until I ask for it. So get your pot put away, get your extra clay put away, come back and clean up your spot.